Have you ever asked your phone for the weather? Or gotten a movie recommendation that was just asterisk perfect asterisk? That's artificial intelligence, or AI. And it feels like it's suddenly everywhere. But the story of AI isn't a recent one. It's a tale that stretches back thousands of years, from ancient myths to modern-day marvels. It's a history filled with brilliant minds, incredible breakthroughs, and moments of crushing disappointment. So, how did we get from fantastical stories of thinking machines to the powerful AI in our pockets, Toto? Why? Let's rewind the clock and uncover the epic history of artificial intelligence. Our journey begins not in a lab, but in the human imagination. Ancient Greek myths told of Hephaestus, the god of invention, who forged golden automatons to serve him. In Jewish folklore, there's the golem, a clay figure brought to life to protect a community. These stories reveal a timeless human fascination, the desire to create artificial beings with intelligence. For centuries, this idea remained in the realm of philosophy and fiction. Thinkers like René Descartes in the 17th century pondered whether a machine could ever truly think, distinguishing human reason from mechanical action. These early philosophical debates laid the conceptual groundwork for what would, centuries later, become a scientific pursuit. The real shift from fantasy to science began in the mid-20th century, spurred on by the dawn of the computer age. In 1943, neurophysiologist Warren McCulloch and logician Walter Pitts proposed the first mathematical model of a neural network. They imagined simple computing elements that could make yes or no decisions, much like the neurons in our brains. Then, in 1950, the legendary Alan Turing published a paper titled Computing Machinery and Intelligence. He introduced the imitation game, which we now know as the Turing Test, a way to determine if a machine could exhibit intelligent behavior indistinguishable from that of a human. Turing's paper was revolutionary. It didn't just ask, can machines think, but provided a framework for how we might actually find out. These ideas were electric, and they all converged in the summer of 1956 at Dartmouth College. A group of pioneering researchers, including John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, and Claude Shannon, gathered for a summer workshop. It was here that John McCarthy coined the term artificial intelligence, officially giving the new field its name. They were incredibly optimistic, believing that a machine as intelligent as a human being was just a few decades away. They envisioned computers that could use language, form concepts, and solve problems reserved for humans. This Dartmouth workshop is widely considered the birthplace of AI as a formal field of study, kicking off an era of unprecedented excitement and funding. This kicked off the first AI boom. The years following the Dartmouth workshop were filled with what seemed like incredible progress. Early AI programs were solving algebra word problems, proving theorems in geometry, and learning to play checkers at a surprisingly high level. The government, particularly the Defense Department, poured millions of dollars into AI research, hoping to develop technologies like automatic translation and intelligent command systems. The future looked bright, and the promises were huge. But the early successes were in very narrow, well-defined domains. The real world, with its messiness and ambiguity, proved to be a much bigger challenge. Researchers had underestimated the sheer complexity of human cognition. By the mid-1970s, the initial optimism began to fade. The promised breakthroughs weren't materializing. The machines couldn't handle the nuances of language, and their common sense knowledge was practically non-existent. Funding agencies grew disillusioned. In 1973, the UK's Lighthill Report delivered a scathing critique of the field, leading to massive funding cuts. The US followed suit. This period, from the mid-70s to the early 80s, what became known as the first AI winter, research ground to a halt, labs were downsized, and the term artificial intelligence almost became a dirty word. The dream of human-level intelligence seemed more distant than ever. But then, a thaw! In the 1980s, AI found a new, practical application: expert systems. Instead of trying to replicate the whole of human intelligence, these programs focused on capturing the knowledge of human experts in a specific, narrow field, like diagnosing infectious diseases or configuring computer systems. An expert system called XCON, for example, saved the Digital Equipment Corporation an estimated $40 million a year. This commercial success brought AI back into the mainstream. A new boom began, with corporations investing heavily and a new generation of researchers entering the field. It seemed like AI was finally delivering on its practical promise. However, history was about to repeat itself. By the late 1980s, the expert systems market collapsed. These systems were expensive to build, difficult to update, and brittle. They broke down when faced with unexpected inputs. At the same time, personal computers were becoming more powerful, and their general-purpose software began to outperform the specialized, expensive AI hardware. Once again, the hype had outpaced reality. Funding dried up, and the field entered its second AI winter. It was a longer, colder winter this time, and it forced the AI community to rethink its entire approach. During this quiet period, a new idea that had been around for decades started gaining serious traction: machine learning. Instead of explicitly programming rules into a computer, machine learning allows the computer to learn patterns and rules on its own, directly from data. A key part of this was the resurgence of artificial neural networks. Researchers like Jeffrey Hinton developed crucial new techniques, like backpropagation, that made it possible to train much deeper and more complex networks. This marked a fundamental shift. The focus moved from logic and handcrafted knowledge to statistics and automatic learning from vast amounts of data. This quiet revolution was laying the foundation for the AI we know today. The payoff for this new approach arrived in spectacular fashion. In 1997, the world watched as IBM's supercomputer, Deep Blue, defeated the reigning world chess champion, Garry Kasparov. It was a monumental achievement, a symbolic victory of machine over human intellect in one of its most celebrated games. But Deep Blue still relied heavily on brute force calculation. The next leap was even more profound. In 2016, Google DeepMind's AlphaGo defeated Lee Sedol, one of the world's top players of the ancient game of Go. This was different. Go is far more complex and intuitive than chess. AlphaGo didn't just calculate, it demonstrated a kind of creativity, making moves that professional players described as beautiful and new. It had learned the game by analyzing millions of human matches and then playing against itself, discovering strategies no human had ever conceived. And that brings us to today. The principles behind AlphaGo deep learning and massive datasets are now powering the AI that surrounds us. It's in the facial recognition that unlocks your phone, the recommendation algorithms on Netflix and Spotify, and the smart assistants in our homes. It's helping doctors diagnose diseases from medical scans, powering self-driving car prototypes, and generating breathtakingly realistic images and text from simple prompts. The decades of research, the booms, and the busts have all culminated in this moment. The dreams of the Dartmouth pioneers are, in many ways, becoming our reality. The journey has been long and winding. But one thing is clear: the age of AI is no longer a science fiction story. It's the world we live in. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.